Howdy everybody. I pray this video finds you blessed. This week I have a really interesting project. There are gear shift knobs for cars. My nephew Sean, which he just graduated, congratulations Sean, he had asked if I had seen these gear shift knobs and showed me an image, which I'll put down at the bottom of the screen. This wasn't the exact ones he showed me, but something similar along the lines as far as shape goes of some gear shift knobs for some project cars he has in mind. We decided to go ahead and make two knobs while we were at it, and this particular piece of wood here is just a random piece of wood I found out in my backyard, and it's really pretty and holy, and we were coating it with the fast set resin to help try to keep any additional air bubbles. Because of it being so pretty and holy, I knew that there would be air bubbles to develop in the final cast once we did it. The fast set would have helped a lot more if I would have waited for it to completely set before we actually poured resin on it, but we didn't have that much time. And for covering that piece, we just used the interference blue mixed with the 2-to-1 fast set for Total Boat. Normally it would have, like I said, it would have worked really well, but we were kind of stressed for time, so we were just doing what we could with what we had. So here we're making the gear shift knob that is made with a piece of spalted maple that I had. Make sure your pieces are really good and dry before you cast them, otherwise you're going to get these fuzzy bubbles or foaming type bubbles. It's a reaction that the resin has with the water once it heats up. So just keep that in mind when you're casting even smaller pieces like this. Make sure they're good and dry. We were trying to get the perfect orange there, so I just used orange food coloring, some yellow alcohol dyes that I had gotten from a kit from wish.com, and also some red to try to get that really orange. It was turning kind of peachy color, so we were just trying to get it a deeper orange. So for the second one, which we're pouring over the random chunk of wood I found in the yard, is green and blue. We're just here trying to achieve the green and blue that Sean has in mind for this particular knob. I'm so thankful that Sean was able to get in the shop with me and kind of, experiment with some resin and kind of take part with creating something for his project car that he plans to do later on in the future. And it's going to be really neat to have a piece that we made together, in that. So thanks, Sean, for making this with me. I had a really good time. So I'm just taping the wood down, making sure it doesn't float completely out of there. My dad was behind me helping me pull the tape off the roll, so thanks, Dad, for helping us out. So the plastic canisters that I used for the mold was the orange juice concentrate mold that you can buy at Walmart. It's just the orange juice. I do want to warn you though, as they get warm. My first one, the green one, I didn't have a problem getting out of the canister, but the orange one, it like melted to the side. So I had a hard time getting it out. It didn't just pop out. I didn't use any mold release or anything else. Normally, these plastics don't stick to the resins, but if they're softer plastics or not HDPE, which I don't think they were, they'll tend to stick. And it was okay because it was just reused. It would have been thrown in the garbage in the first place. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you keep an eye on what plastics exactly you're using for these projects. So I hot glued this to a waste block and then put a tenant on it. This one ended up being a little shorter than the next, the orange one, because I didn't really have an idea of how I was going to flop these around yet. I was still unsure how I was going to mount them to finish them off. It was kind of one of those, all right, this is the first one. This is going to be the one that if there are going to be tons of mistakes, it's going to be made on this one. So this one was sort of like a learning process, which I'm thankful that we made two, because then I can get more of a hang of exactly how I'm going to mount it, how I'm going to finish it, the whole 9 yards, the time it's going to take and everything. So So as I'm turning this, I'm realizing that this wood is so very punky. I mean, it was just coming out and just I was able to scrape it out very easy. So I was like, well, this is definitely a project for the acetone and resin mixture. So you mix your resin the way it tells you to on the instructions, and then you just put that same amount in with acetone. You can do less acetone, you can do more acetone if you like. I would say experiment with it. I don't know an exact recipe for every piece of wood. It's kind of an experiment every time. So I just poured it in a jar and allowed it to soak in there for probably about, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then after I felt that it was no longer bubbling, where it was no longer like soaking it in, I pulled it out and let it sit in another plastic container to set. And it set within, I used the fast set for this one, so it set within a few hours to where I was able to go and turn it. The problem I felt is I should have left it sit in the acetone mixture at least overnight. The acetone won't gum up really bad on you until, like, I don't know, I guess it all depends too on how much acetone you mix in. So like I said, it's kind of an experiment. I should have left it sit in there longer so that way the wood can absorb in a lot more, because I was still getting some tear out and some pieces. So my time, I don't have a lot of time for a lot of these projects. So unfortunately, some of the problems I come across require time that I don't have. So I just want to share with you where I rushed and where, if I had not rushed, it probably would have turned out better and in the end made it less difficult. So unfortunately, like I said, my time is limited to get some of these projects done and to get videos up in time. It's a real challenge. So thanks for bearing with me, and at least you're learning from what not to do in my case. So for my finish, I just sanded it all down, put some sanding sealer on it, cleaned that all off and made sure it was nice and smooth. There's no dust or debris. And then used my first coat, because I knew I was going to put on a second coat of resin to get a high gloss, durable finish. I used the 2-to-1 Total Boat Fast Set. Because later on that day I wanted to get the second coat put on, which takes a little longer to set. So the first coat took about 3 to 4 hours, and then I went back and sanded it back, just to smooth it off, because it's kind of like, I used the first coat kind of like a heavy duty sanding sealer, I guess it pretty much ends up being. So that way the second coat just lays down a lot nicer. So the second coat, I'm using the 2-to-1 slow hardener, which this one takes quite a bit more time to set, but it ends up giving a better finish than using the fast set. I have used the fast set as a final finish in some projects. It turns out fine, but I found that more times than not, the fast set doesn't give me the final finish. I end up having to go back over it with the 2-to-1 slow. And I just put it on and then leave the lathe running at 50 RPMs for about an hour until it starts to really tack up to where it's not moving any. And of course I cover it while it's on the lathe while it's doing that, so no bugs or dust or anything else can get on it. And then I let it set overnight before I do anything else with it. So before I completely finished them, I wanted to show you the turning of the second knob, the orange one, because there are things that I did record for this one that I did not, the green. So I wanted to make sure that you understood the process and why, and so that way you can, when you plan your project, if you decide to do something similar to this, you can kind of know what to expect and kind of be a little ahead of the game and So after I pulled these off, both of them had some buildup from resin and everything else around the taper that I used to mount them. So I needed to fill this hole back up anyway, because later on down the road he's going to need to drill and tap it, or however he's planning on mounting these gear shift knobs into the vehicle he's going to put them in. He's going to need to redo that hole, and how he's going to need to do that anyway. So I decided that I'll just take the Dremel and sand that all down, and then fill that both the holes in both of them with fast set resin that was similar to the colors we used. I had a lot of fun making these knobs, and I learned a lot of new things, and obviously, making knobs for making shifting knobs is a whole new world. So it's really cool. Kind of wish I had the know-how to do it whenever I had fast cars. Anyways, congratulations on graduating, Sean. We love you so very much, and we're so proud of you. Thank you for doing this project with me, and we had a lot of fun. I pray all of you have a wonderful weekend. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.